This is a CBC News special presentation.
It is Monday, April 28th, 6:30 Eastern Time in downtown Toronto. For 36 days, federal leaders did their best to sell their visions of the future to Canadians. And judging by the voting numbers so far, Canada leaned in. There is a lot riding on this election. We're live from the atrium of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I'm Rosemary Barton. It's election night. This is Canada Votes.
Who is ready to stand up for Canada with me? Who's ready to vote for a change?
This is Canada at a crossroads. With the U.S. threatening economic upheaval and the cost of living squeezing households, Canadians are turning out in droves to choose their path forward.
It's a big deal for Canada, what's going on.
This is a vital election.
A record number of voters, more than 7 million, cast their ballots in advance. Millions more are doing so today.
It's good to see so much voter turnout.
Who will they choose to lead?
Send more New Democrats to Ottawa because we're going to stand up and fight for you.
Nobody loves Quebec more than a Quebecer.
And who will be the one to take on Donald Trump?
Knock it off. Stop attacking America's friends.
Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves.
Tonight, together, we learn what Canadians have decided. This is Canada Votes 2025. Hello, and welcome to your election night. Thank you for being here with us. Over the next number of hours, we will start to see the results of how you voted. It is election night, and our team is ready, here to bring you all the results and analysis you will need to make sense of tonight. Tonight, we are going to find out, riding by riding, who will form government, who will lead this country through what could really be some very turbulent months and years ahead, facing an existential threat from the U.S. president. Joining me tonight, of course, the CBC's chief correspondent, Adrian Arsenault, host of The House, Catherine Cullen, and Ian Hannah-Mansing, host of the National and Cross Country Checkup. And David Cochrane, the host of Power and Politics, will join us shortly as well to help us chart the paths to victory tonight. First, though, let's start with Adrian to get a sense of what you're watching tonight, Adrian.
You bet, Rosie. I'm looking at the north. I'm looking at Prince Edward Island, and I'm looking at
this House of Commons. This is how it looked after redistribution, which happens every 10 years and happened for this election, and some by-election losses. The Liberals stood at 154 seats. The Conservatives, 128. 35 for the Bloc, 24 New Democrats, 2 Greens, and now let's just wipe that clean tonight. We're starting at 0. And Canada Votes, you vote to determine the makeup of the next Parliament. Let's take a look at what you'll be seeing on your screens through the night. You can see there at the bottom of your screen what we call the count. As soon as polls close, those numbers...
We have some of the first numbers in from Malpeque. Let's have a quick look-see and see what's going on there. So that is the Liberal incumbent Heath MacDonald with a lead of 14 over Jamie Foxx. So let's look at a vote change on PEI here. What you will see there, the Liberals up 11.2 percentage points, Conservatives up 5.8, but look at who is down. The Greens. The Greens have been such a huge force in provincial politics on PEI, but look, they're down 7.3 percentage points, NDP down 7.2 percentage points. That is a big deal, but...
And 2 territories. This is when your say will start to determine who is going to form government. As we come out of Atlantic Canada, you can see where the results are at the bottom of your screen. Polls now closed in much of the country. Polls have now closed in most of Canada, and that means we're about to get the biggest waves of results we'll get tonight. From Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. 266 more seats will be added to the count. Many of these are key battlegrounds of this election, ridings you need to win to form government. Okay, so that is what is to come. Will get counted, so not to worry about that. I'm going to go back to the panel now. Althea, you haven't had a chance to weigh in so far on what you're watching for now, as so many other polls close, and you've also been joined by a fellow you know well, Jason Kenney, former Alberta Premier and Conservative Cabinet Minister. We'll get to him first, but what are you watching for now?
I'm actually not watching the results coming in because one poll doesn't really tell you a ton.
You said it. So early results and lots of results flooding in. And as you can see there at the bottom of your screen, 11 minutes now before polls close in British Columbia and Yukon. But let's look at the share of the vote to start to get a sense of the story so far this evening. 51.2% for the Liberals, 39.7% for the Conservatives. The NDP and the Bloc still in very, very low numbers there. Let me show you what that looks like in terms of seat change so far, right? And this is leading and elected. This is not the full picture yet, but look, the Liberals are up 13. And it looks like, at least at this stage of the evening, that it is to the expense of the Bloc Quebecois down 12 and the Conservatives 1. If that kind of trend were to continue, that would be encouraging for the Liberals. That would mean that they would come out of Quebec having gained some seats. And
yes, let's talk about Alberta, Rosemary. We're going to start with the first projected elected in the province of Alberta by the CBC Decision Desk, Michelle Rempel-Garner, a Conservative who is certainly a well-known vocal member of that caucus. That big smile on her face because she is the first Conservative that the CBC Decision Desk says has been re-elected to her seat. Let's take a look, though, at some other interesting races. Edmonton Southeast. Part of what makes this interesting, Amarjeet Sohi, former Liberal cabinet minister.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to show you a board right now to try and explain where we're at and what you should be watching for as the results continue to tick in from polls right across the country at this stage. This is where the Liberals are right now. They are leading or elected in 123 ridings. Let me show you the next piece of that. That is the pink seats that you're seeing there. Those are incumbents. Those are the seats that they would have to now win, 51 more if they want to track towards a majority. And if they were to win those 51 incumbents, many, many close races, and we're watching some of those. And I think David Cochrane wants to talk to us now.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea of how close this is, when we were talking about Atlantic Canada earlier, it was 22-10, right? 22 Liberals, 10 Conservatives. Well, there are two ridings, Terra Nova, where Anthony Germain is running for the Liberals, where the advanced polls offer the hope of them getting over the top there. And in Central Nova, the advanced polls have put Sean Fraser back in the lead as that has now gone to red. So we're to a 23-9.
And some news for all of you, Canada. Get ready. Our CBC News Decision Desk is ready to make a call. Canada's next government will be a Liberal government. It is not yet clear at this hour whether it will be a minority or majority because of some of those close races we were talking about. This marks a fourth Liberal mandate, very rare in Canadian politics. But the Liberal Party, led by Mark Carney, has pulled it off, a stunning reversal, a Liberal comeback with a first-time politician as leader. You're looking live there at the Liberal Party headquarters right now. Okay, remarkable, as we said, reversal in political fortunes for the Liberal Party that was thought perhaps to be left for dead just months ago, has now made this incredible comeback, remarkable comeback, and is going to form government yet again with someone who has never been elected to public office before. We're waiting on results from his riding tonight. Mark Carney, the 24th Prime Minister, will now be the 25th Prime Minister as well. Having a difficult night, but at least his own riding is secure. That's Yves-François Blanchet in the riding of Belleuil-Chambly. He has won handily in that riding, but he is probably not enjoying the evening so far, given where things are tracking for the Bloc this hour. Let me show you who has just been elected as a Member of Parliament for the very first time, and that is Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister. This is his first time running for public office. He was tempted many times, but never decided to go for it. And this time he has, and he has won handily in his riding of Nepean. This is, I can't remember, I have this trivia somewhere, but the last time that a Prime Minister's riding was in the nation's capital. They've started to come in. Remember, he and his riding was up against 91, I believe, other candidates. But as you can see there, this is only one poll reporting. The Liberals slightly ahead. in the day. Oh, David's got a long ballot with him.
Rosie,
of course you have a prop.
Because we have an arts and craft division at Power and Politics, we had a replica. This is the ballot you're dealing with in Carleton, right? This is what the longest ballot, this is what 91 names look like, right? And you got to do this to kind of find Pierre Poilievre. He's right there, by the way, on the ballot. Bruce Fanjoy, the Liberal, is right there on the ballot. But just look at the sheer girth of this thing.
Does that concern anyone that there is fewer, less representation of parties inside the House of Commons in terms of what that means for democracy, Andrew? Okay, thank you for that, Ian. I'm going to show a couple of boards myself now to explain a little bit more of the story we're seeing tonight. This is sort of what we call a party summary board, how they're doing right across the country at this stage in the evening. So you can see their vote share 5.5% overall. But look at those numbers on the right, on the far right of your screen. Those numbers down. The NDP is down in every region of the country. And let me show you where some of that has gone by showing you this next board. This is the Liberal Party. Overall, 42.6%. But look at that. Look at what has happened to them on the right of your screen. Up in every single region of the country. Elizabeth May has won her riding of Saanich Gulf Islands with a significant lead, more than 2,500 votes. Decorum will last particularly long, but we'll see where the night ends. And so I'm going to turn to David Cochrane now to give us a sense of where we are, where we might be going, or why we might not go to sleep ever again.
Yeah, it's 20 after 3 back home in Newfoundland and Labrador, and I still have friends text me. It's like, it's going to be a majority or a minority. And the answer is we kind of still don't know, and here's why. The advance votes, we talked about this earlier in Atlantic Canada, they are still coming in, the advance polls and the special ballots, and they are causing swings of 2,000 votes, from one party to another. I want to just give you an example of that trend. We're going to go to Port Moody, Coquitlam. Let me see if I get it on the first try. There we are, Port Moody, Coquitlam. Okay, right here, you look at this. With 215 of 220 polls reporting, Zoe Royer for the Liberals has a 1,440 vote lead. When we started looking at this at 12:30 Eastern, the Conservatives had a 900 vote lead. Then the advance polls came in 45 minutes later and a flip to an 1,100 vote Liberal lead. Just have a look at this trend line. We show you how the vote went in this particular riding throughout the night. Look at the vote share. Look, it gets really close together, but see that pretty much? The blue line was right on top all the way until it wasn't. And so that's what happened in Port Moody, Coquitlam. There's this.
Good evening. I'm Gloria Makarenko, and welcome to Canada Votes 2025. After the vote. We are coming to you live from beautiful British Columbia. We continue our coverage of the federal election. And if you're just joining us, CBC News is projecting a Liberal government under Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Obviously, I know this night is a disappointing night for New Democrats. Y'all just poured your heart into me.
He congratulated me for being re-elected in Saanich Gulf Islands.
À chaque moment d'une campagne exceptionnelle. Merci aux militants et aux militants du Bloc québécois.
We didn't quite get over the finish line yet. And that's why we have to learn the lessons of tonight so that we can have an even better result the next time the Canadians decide the future for the country.
And my message to every Canadian is this. No matter how you voted, I will always do my best to represent everyone. Vive le Canada. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
A most unusual night, and a long one as well. Well, we have reporters in ridings across the West standing by to bring you the latest results and break down the stories that matter in what has already proven to be a very exciting race. Now, Justin is at the results desk. He is monitoring all the late fights, the ongoing fights. So, Justin, can you help break it down for us? Just how did we get here? Well, what are we still watching? And why haven't we called this thing?
Well, and Gloria, it's 171 seats to a majority. The Liberals right now have 167 seats, so you do the math. 4 more seats, they have to find those extra votes. And there are still a number of places where we're waiting for those final votes to come in. Let's take a look at some of our closest races that are still too close to call. You can see Terrebonne there with the BQ, 28 votes down for the Liberals, if they can make up the difference there. In Vancouver Kingsway, if they can make up the difference. Terra Nova as well. In Milton East, Halton Head South, 329 votes. Windsor Tecumseh Lakeshore, 359 votes there. So, you know, it's not the most likely, but we've seen from the advance votes that have come in the rest of the country that they've tended to tilt towards the Liberal Party. So we're going to be watching all night to see whether these tip and we end up getting a Liberal majority.
One man is new to politics. Mark Carney had never run for office before he took over from Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister of Canada.
That's why I'm asking for a strong, positive mandate from my fellow Canadians.
The other has spent his entire adult life in politics. Pierre Poilievre has been elected and re-elected 7 times and now has his eye on the big prize. Canada's 45th federal election. Party leaders given just 37 days to make their pitches to voters. Carney as the new Liberal leader asking people to vote Canada strong. Pierre Poilievre vowing the Conservatives will put Canada first for a change.
We will reduce the cost of government so that we can leave more money in the pockets of the hardworking Canadians.
Jagmeet Singh working to keep the NDP relevant.
We are the only party focused on regular folks.
Yves-François Blanchet and the Bloc Quebecois managing their message at a time when Quebecers and Canadians are thinking about an existential threat to Canada.
We are, either we like it or not, part of an artificial country called Canada.
The Green Party co-leaders urging Canadians to vote to keep their party alive.
Vote like your country depends on it. Vote like your planet depends on it.
But we will take our future back.
Looming over everything, the American president.
I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world.
Changing the priorities for many voters from who can lower housing prices and make life more affordable to who can stand up to Donald Trump's trade war and threats to Canadian sovereignty.
You can always become a state.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state.
Every leader forced to focus on the damaged relationship with our southern neighbor.
We need to fight Trump's tariffs with counter tariffs of our own that will cause maximum damage in the United States. Minimum.
We need to bring dollars and jobs home so that we can be strong enough to stand up to Donald Trump.
But we got a message. We will never be the 51st state. Not now, not ever.
And now, it's your decision, Canada. This is what tonight is all about. Who will be elected to represent Canadians in the next Parliament? But the voting is overshadowed by tragedy. The death of 11 people in Vancouver on Saturday. Flags on Parliament Hill have been lowered as a mark of respect for those who were killed. Hello, I'm Donna Friesen. Welcome to our coverage. We start by acknowledging the many families and communities in mourning today. A 30-year-old suspect is in custody, a man Vancouver police say they've had many interactions with over mental health issues. He's been charged with multiple counts of murder, accused of driving a vehicle into the crowd at a festival in Vancouver celebrating Filipino culture.
And tonight, the Liberals try to hold on to power, the Conservatives try to take it away, and the other parties try to remain relevant in Parliament. But as always, on election night, we begin with a blank slate, scoreless game, as they say in hockey, and we will be filling 343 seats in the House of Commons. And Donna, this is what is remarkable about a democracy like Canada. We are able to do this every few years. In 158 years of our history, this is only the 45th time we've had an election day. And good luck to us all.
Yeah, and I'm David Aiken also here, watching all the results come in. David, polls have now closed in Newfoundland and Labrador, as anyone who lives there knows. What are you seeing so far?
Well, we have 7 ridings in Newfoundland and Labrador, and great to be with you, Donna and Eric. These are always exciting. I love these nights. We have one result to report, so let's get to that. You've seen it in the bottom of your screen. Leading or elected Conservatives won, and that is the riding right here Central Newfoundland, aptly named. And that's where Clifford Small, the Conservative, is the incumbent. He was elected for the first time 4 years ago.
Also, you can see on the bottom of your screen there, these are from Atlantic Canada. Oh, we've got a popular vote, and at the bottom, Liberals leading or elected in 16, Conservatives in 7. And Eric, look at that popular vote, almost tied.
More telling, both in the, I think in the popular vote first, which is that the Liberals and Conservatives are very close. Normally at this time of night on an election in Atlantic Canada, you would expect, you know, as you're pointing out in the map, David, these are all ridings that the Conservatives won in 2021, so they're holding those. They're for the moment, they're even picking up 2 in Newfoundland and Labrador, and that is remarkable. That is the most remarkable thing we're seeing so far.
Still some ridings not reporting. For instance, we don't have, you know, St. John has not reported. Nothing from Fredericton. So, I mean, there's still a lot. The numbers are going to definitely change. And we do have one riding which was Conservative at the beginning of the night, which is now where the Liberal is leading, and not by much. I'll just pop that up. That's Acadie Annapolis. Chris D'Entremont is behind by 3, count them, 3 votes to the Liberal Ronnie Lamont. But
out of Canada, right now it's 13-13. This is a real developing story right now.
All right. I want to find out what our political panel thinks about it, particularly the man from Newfoundland and Labrador. Mercedes, over to you.
Absolutely. Well, I want to start with Lisa, because, Lisa, we're watching these results come in.
Yeah.
This is better than we expected for the Conservatives. You're also from Atlantic Canada originally.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're looking at on your swing meter.
Well, you know, as the wise Yogi Berra once said also, it ain't over till it's over. And right now, the story that's developing for the moment is the Conservatives, and let's look at the swing meter for them. Remember, their magic number to get to government would be a swing of 27 plus.
Yeah, so let's remember we could keep going out west. I mean, there's a lot of action in Quebec, a lot of action in Ontario, but I wanted to tell people what's going on way out west. Right now, if you're looking at that, you see a little dot of orange. Not a little dot, a big dot of orange. It's the riding south of Edmonton, Leduc, Wetaskiwin. There's only 3 polls in. The incumbent is Mike Lake. He's been there since 2004-06. He's been there for a while. This riding, I think the Conservatives would be favored, but right now we put it in the NDP column with Catherine Swampy having a 41-vote lead over the Liberals and just 12 votes, but again, just 3 in. That may change blue. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's very strange. I don't know if the NDP would win there. But take a look at this one. Edmonton Southeast. This is Amarjeet Sohi trying for a comeback to the House of Commons.
All right, thanks so much. We're going to take a quick peek at Mark Carney's riding. He is running in Nepean in the Ottawa region, and he, at this point, it's only 1 poll reporting, but he has a very comfortable lead there. And we do have some breaking news now. Global News is ready to make a call. Global News is now projecting a Liberal government. It's a Liberal government. We're not saying majority or minority, but Global News is projecting that the Conservatives can't win enough seats at this point to form a government.
Yeah.
So we'll have, Eric, did you have thoughts on that?
Well, what they're saying is they can't catch up. Get numbers up that high for the 2 main parties. There they are right now. Well, look at that. You know, you don't need me to run over there. I can just, Donna and I can just talk about it here.
Yeah.
You know, add that up, 49 and 38. That gets you up to, what, 87, 88%? Look at the NDP, 4.4%. That has collapsed.
Would we rather want to ask and hope for the fair share of the gains, or would we prefer...
Mark Carney's riding, there he is. Not a problem for him to win his riding of Nepean, but look at that, check mark beside his name. This is a man who's been Governor of the Bank of England, Governor of the Bank of Canada. Okay, let's go to Mercedes Stephenson, who is with Senator Pamela Wallin.
Thanks, Donna. Here with Senator Wallin. We're watching the night still unfold. Liberal government could be, and looks increasingly like possibly Liberal minority government.
Is that it's this close.
Yeah. All right, we're going to look at some particular ridings here. This is Vancouver Island, Saanich Gulf Islands. Elizabeth May, the incumbent there, and she has the lead.
Well, you have to hand it to her. Now, where are we at? We're at 25, but still, she's pulling out a lead right now. She's held the riding since 2011, and...
See, they'd have official party status. It's early. I'm not so sure the NDP are going to hold 11 by the time we're done the night, but we'll see.
And this is Beauce.
Maxime Bernier in 4th. Is he going to get the message and pack it in as the People's Party guy?
Why didn't the Liberals do better tonight, and why didn't the Conservatives catch the Liberals? And I think if we look at the seat distribution across the country, you get a sense of it. There's nothing to surprise us really too much. First of all, in what you're seeing out in British Columbia, there's a bit of a spread from the Conservatives and Liberals. I won't get into those numbers. But over the prairies, this is what you would expect.
You know, holding back the Liberals from gaining more seats. Let's take a look at these. These are very tight races in a range of places. Newfoundland, Toronto.
And Canada decides what another Liberal government means for British Columbians.
You're watching Global BC. This is Global News Hour.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this special post-election edition of the News Hour. We will have more on the winners and losers and how the results impact BC a little bit later. But first, all right, now to the other major story of the day, of course, the federal election. Canada has spoken, and the Liberals will form Canada's next government.
That's right, and Richard Zussman joins us in studio now to talk about the results and the role that BC played here. Richard.
The big story here, guys, was around the NDP. Jack Layton was known for his Orange crush. Well, tonight, the Orange, they got crushed. So many NDP MPs going down across British Columbia. Let's focus on Vancouver Island, where that was a big part of the story here. So the NDP is now down just to 3 seats in the province. They were at 13 when the night started. This is one of the ridings where the Conservatives flipped from the NDP, Aaron Gunn winning in North Island. Oh, it's also important to note, Elizabeth May, she is heading back to Ottawa, the MP for Saanich Gulf Islands, holding off the Liberals here. Elizabeth May in the Green.
The country. As I say, other parties other than the Liberals and the NDP and the Conservatives usually get a number of votes here. But again, we're looking at a very divided country. 43% Liberal, 42% Conservative, and the other party simply drifted down to single digits. So this is the first time since 1958 that we've seen 2 parties dominate with more than 80% of the votes. Quite extraordinary with the disappearance of the NDP. In BC, a similar story, slightly different numbers here. The NDP stronger in BC, but not by much. 42% again for the Conservatives, the Liberals, 41% for the Conservatives.
This is a CTV News special presentation.
The polls are closed in Newfoundland and Labrador. The first results of election 2025 now mere minutes away. We're live in every single part of the country as your votes are being counted. And in just a couple of minutes, we'll have an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at how this night could unfold.
The results, the reaction, and the road ahead for Canada, all of it right here and right now.
This is the most consequential vote of our lifetimes. Donald Trump wants to break us.
We will build out the vision of an East-West nation that John A. brought to this country.
We're going to fight back and defend those jobs. We're going to fight back and defend our country.
We will support what is right for Quebec.
A vision where housing is a right, not a luxury.
CTV Election 2025. Here are Omar Sachedina and Vashi Kapelos.
Well, the campaigning is over, the counting is beginning, and this is the place to be to watch it all unfold. From the heart of CTV News election headquarters, welcome to our coverage of this historic decision for our country. The tension is high and so are the stakes, and over the next few hours, Canada's next government will take shape.
The party's final sprint for support all comes down to this, the end of an unprecedented stretch, but the unpredictability of it all, well, that's far from over. Here in studio, we are so lucky to be surrounded by some of Canada's finest political minds, cabinet ministers, party leaders, premiers, strategists, all here to examine how we got to this point and what happens next. You'll also be hearing from some familiar voices.
Very familiar voices. We are so excited that you are all here. So let's set the stage for a night of high political drama. Heather Butts is standing by, and she has our exclusive first glimpse at where we might be headed over the next several hours. Heather, what have you got?
That's right, Omar. As we look to where we're going, let's take a look at where we came from. Let's remind our viewers of what government looked like at dissolution. The Liberals had 152 seats. The Conservatives, 120.
Is what a government needs to get the majority. We're going to take a look now at the
House projections. This is the very first projections this evening from the CTV News decision desk. Now, these numbers are compiled based on historical data, riding information, polling, and a whole lot of number crunching. The CTV News decision desk is projecting at this moment in time that the Liberals could get a minimum of 138 seats to a maximum of 180, possibly crossing that marker for a majority government. They're also projecting the Conservatives.
Welcome back to election headquarters here at CTV News. We continue to track early results as they come in from Atlantic Canada. I want to bring in my colleague, CTV News Chief Financial Correspondent Amanda Lang. We do have some changes to just quickly put up on the board, some Conservative gains so far in Atlantic Canada as these polls start to trickle in, and some Liberal losses at this point. Amanda, look, the economy became probably, if there's one thing underpinning that ballot box competition over what the...
Really focused on a trade war, throwing money at a problem, not so much worried about the fiscal balance. And the Conservatives taking that same message that they've had all along, which is we want to downsize government, we want to reduce your taxes. So that the kind of undertone was, yeah, sure, there's a trade war, but remember, we're the guys that are going to deliver something different here. And we'll see whether that works in terms of the messaging and how it gets read in the end by what people actually absorbed. You know, economists, the balance is out in terms of which one will succeed, because in both platforms there was a lot of unknown.
So polls close there in a couple of hours, but in much of the rest of the country in an hour. And we've got some declarations, including in New Brunswick, Minister Dominic Lamont, who served in a million different capacities over the last 4 years. As you said, we've got those declarations coming in, those calls happening from our decision desk, and this is where things start to really unfold. And it's really interesting to just look at the map of our country and see how it plays out in color form. We have the Liberals leading and elected in 22 ridings at the moment. The Conservatives pull behind the numbers, and you've actually divided the population into these really interesting segments.
We have. We take data on the population and estimate it down to the postal code, a rich view of demographics and finances and people's social values. And when we cross-reference that with Elections Canada data back from 2021, the primary segment here is that older rustic that I just mentioned. So these are retirees or people contemplating retirement. They tend to be on the lower middle income scale, and they make up most of this riding. Now remember, in this riding, the Conservatives won by about 8 points back in 2021.
Absolutely. Let's take it over to Anne-Marie with her panel. Anne-Marie.
Well, I'm not older or rustic, I don't think, anyway, but I'm heading fast in that direction. Let's talk about, again, the people in these ridings. And if we're looking at both the riding that the Conservatives have flipped and the ones that they possibly could, there's a story that's developing across the country, and that is that urban and rural divide.
These political blanks being filled just moments from now. We're just getting prepared for the biggest wave of poll closings across the entire country. And within a matter of minutes, in fact, we'll have results from hundreds of ridings all the way west to Alberta. Stay with us. This is CTV Election 2025.
Is a CTV News special presentation.
This is the most consequential vote of our lifetimes. Donald Trump wants to break us.
We will build out the vision of an East-West nation that John A. brought to this country.
We're going to fight back and defend those jobs. We're going to fight back and defend our country.
We will support what is right for Quebec.
A vision where housing is a right, not a luxury.
CTV Election 2025. Once again, Omar Sachedina and Vashi Kapelos.
Welcome back to the heart of CTV News election headquarters, where the polls have now closed. Good evening. The tension is high, and so are the stakes. Canada's next government is beginning to take shape.
The party's final sprint for support all comes down to this: the end of a kind of unprecedented stretch. The unpredictability, as we've seen so far, though, of seats are Mark Carney's Liberals, who look to potentially pick up, at this point in time, 7 seats. The Bloc, another, the big story. It's at.
Okay, let's go to Montreal and Matsumi.
Well, we said earlier in the evening that Trois-Rivières was a riding to watch. The Bloc's got to be worried at this point. All the candidates in this riding, they're not really well known. So what that means is this riding, it's about the parties and the party leaders. It's a real three-way race. Going into it tonight, it was too close to call. Right now, the incumbent Bloc is running third after the Liberals and the Conservatives. It is early yet.
Is this south of the border? Is this the...
Anne-Marie, I just have to interrupt you because our decision desk is just coming up with some data. We are about to reach a pivotal moment in this unprecedented campaign. We are about to make a call. Stand by for major declaration from the CTV News decision desk. This will be your next government. We are getting the results momentarily. Seconds from now, it's a time we've all been waiting for. And there you have it. CTV News decision desk declaring a Liberal win. We know that the Liberals will be forming the next government of Canada. The big question right now, Vashi, is will it be a majority or a minority? And this is a live shot. I'd be interested to see what happens, by the way, in David Lemaitrie's former riding of La Salle and Verdun. Of course, this was a riding that the Liberals held, that the Bloc stole, took away. We'll try to track that to see where the numbers are shaping up. The
Liberals are able to hit that magic 172 to form a majority. We are still not anywhere close to figuring that out.
No, we aren't. That may take a while yet. But Maxime Bernier losing, it defeated, we're declaring in the riding of Beauce. And
Mark Carney elected in his Ottawa area riding of Nepean. Not a difficult battle for Mark Carney there, not unexpected in any way. Mark Carney will remain Prime Minister and form government. You can see there we have declared him the winner in his riding as well.
That's huge.
All right, I've got to interrupt the panel. My apologies, but we have a very significant declaration to make at the CTV decision desk. We are projecting now a Liberal minority government, a Liberal minority government. They will not, we don't anticipate, cross the threshold of 172 seats, setting up a fascinating dynamic over the coming days and weeks when you consider what our panel was just talking about, Omar, that precipitous drop in support for the NDP, translating to a big decrease in seats. Even though the Bloc sees a decrease as well, their significance in the House of Commons
around Toronto on the outskirts. And we're looking in at Brampton right now. Nick, some pretty tight ridings here. First, taking a look at Brampton to Kesey Park.
Yeah, this is all going to come down to organization. It's basically the westernmost part of the country from Saanich Gulf Islands, which of course is Elizabeth May's riding. And the CTV News decision desk can now tell you that she is keeping her riding of Saanich Gulf Islands. Chuckles from Scotland.
Why are you laughing? She held. They're on stage alongside his wife. The two of them have been at basically every single campaign event at breakneck speed throughout the last 5 weeks. He is scheduled to take the microphone any moment now, but this story of his riding is certainly another fascinating one.
The true north, strong and free. At a crossroads, Canadians face a critical choice tonight, with our economy, our sovereignty, and our future hanging in the balance.
I've just requested that the Governor-General dissolve Parliament and call an election for April 28th.
Canada-U.S. relations is the top issue.
It's awful to be America's enemy. It's worse to be their friend.
The U.S. and Canada enter a trade war.
The government is prepared to respond to more U.S. tariffs.
A 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States.
Those in car manufacturing in Canada are bracing for uncertain times.
This is a direct attack.
Again, job losses.
Like a lot of people are fed up with Trump.
What we need is vision, and we need it now.
Federal party leaders are striking a tougher tone against the United States.
My message to President Trump is knock it off. Quebec has to face Donald Trump. Canada has to face Donald Trump.
The message from Canadians is clear. Canada is strong, resilient, and independent.
I don't want to be part of the United States.
We will never be Trump's 51st state.
I agree that Canada is not for sale. It's not time to be quiet.
It's your vote. It's Election Day in Canada, and City News is everywhere. Welcome to our special election night coverage here on City News. We will be live throughout the evening, bringing you the very latest results from across the country. Our Glenn McGregor and Xiaoli Li are in Ottawa at Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre's watch parties. Winced when Glenn McGregor called the NDP campaign a save the furniture. Your thoughts on ground game and getting the vote out?
New Democrats are very strong on their ground game and getting their vote out. So that's something that, that they can count on.
Definitely. Xiaoli Li in Ottawa, thanks very much. Now we're going to look at those numbers more carefully with Christina Howren, and she's at the big map. And what are you seeing in the Atlantic provinces so far, Christina?
Really starting to see some colors filling in, and a little bit surprising. Again, very early in the evening, a lot of polls have not yet responded, but just checking back in with Newfoundland, seeing a lot of blue here. This area, aside from this riding right here, central Newfoundland, all of that was red in the last election. Now, again, very early in, but taking a peek over here at the Long Range Mountains. Again, this is Carol Ansley's second kick at the can for this seat, and she's got a fairly hefty lead. I mean, we're about a quarter of the way through.
Local politics matter, and I think we might be seeing a little bit of that play out in Sean Fraser's riding, where there might be a bit of a repudiation for his last-minute rejection of spending more time with his family to come back to politics. So that may be part of it, but a good sign.
Let's talk about popular vote. We have it up on our screen. The Liberals, right now, 51+%. The Conservatives, 41. Bloc, 0.2. NDP, 4.5, and
the numbers would come back together. But yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of polls, now we know where the ridings are going. We're going to check in now with Christina Howren, who is watching the results as they come in 20 minutes after polls closed in Ontario and Quebec. Christina.
Thanks, Cynthia. And I just noticed this, and I wasn't even going to talk about this area yet, but down here in Essex, this is a Conservative riding. Okay, very, very early in, but
Back to Toronto for now, but we'll definitely have to touch on that a little bit more. Back to you, Cynthia.
Thank you very much. And City News is declaring the Liberals have won. They will form the next government. However, we do not know at this point, as the numbers continue to come in, whether it will be a Liberal minority or a Liberal majority government. Again, City News is declaring the next government in this country will be Liberals. And on that note, we're going to go straight to Glenn McGregor, who's standing by at Liberal headquarters in Ottawa. Glenn.
Yeah, big cheer through this room, Cynthia. Not that many people here yet.
The island turned blue tonight.
Well, I think that's where it's quite interesting. We're seeing a real realignment of traditional voters because on the island, as we know, we have NDP seats, and we're seeing those voters come to the Conservatives. So certainly, North Island, Campbell River, Nanaimo. I mean, those are seats that are going.
Archetypical Conservative in that he is a great opposition figure at holding the Liberals to account. These are the kind of figures that the Conservative Party needs to start thinking about as they want to go again.
We have a leader that has risen to that occasion, and he's had a message of Canada strong, being unified, and that message has resonated. It's resonated.
Bloc and the Conservatives got together, they would have 171, and the NDP and the Liberals got together, they would have 171, and Elizabeth May would hold the power. You would then have to choose somebody to be Speaker, but when you really look at it, it's remarkable that if a coalition of interests came to be.
We're going to head over to the Ottawa area now, and that's where we're going to check in on Pierre Poilievre in Carleton. Like, as you've been saying, 91 different candidates on that ballot. But he is trailing by 1,700 votes with 68 polls reporting. I mean, this man has represented this riding for more than 20 years. He has deep roots in this community. With the riding redistribution, Carleton actually picked up more of a rural base. So you would think that those voters tend to be voting more Conservative. But right now, he's in real trouble. And again, like you said, 91 other candidates. And we're not really seeing, there's one. David Hsu has 0.1% and 11 votes, 9 votes, 8 votes, 7 votes. All this really did was tie up the system, probably split a lot of votes up.
Jamais dans l'histoire, un président américain n'aura eu autant d'influence sur une campagne canadienne. Canada should be our 51st state. They should be a state.
It should honestly become our 51st state. The 51st state. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade.
We don't need anything from Canada. Now Canada's going to have to start paying up.
Qui de Mark Carney ou de Pierre Poilievre vous aura convaincu qu'il est le meilleur pour faire face aux menaces de Trump?
Dans une crise, il faut agir.
Le Canada est un pays souverain.
Nous pouvons contrôler notre destin.
Nous ne serons jamais un État.
Nous sommes maîtres chez nous.
Yves-François Blanchet et Jagmeet Singh, eux, ont plaidé pour un gouvernement minoritaire.
Quand on nous dit, cette fois-ci, je vais voter avec ma tête au lieu de voter avec mon cœur, qu'est-ce qui t'empêche de voter avec les deux?
La seule façon qu'on va livrer la marchandise, c'est avec plus de néo-démocrates pour forcer le gouvernement d'agir.
Au final, c'est votre décision que nous vous présentons ce soir. Bienvenue à la soirée électorale de Radio-Canada. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Ici Patrice Roy et toute l'équipe en direct de l'atrium de la nouvelle maison de Radio-Canada à Montréal. Nous y sommes au fil d'arrivée. Nous aurons ce soir votre verdict après une courte campagne que plusieurs ont trouvée étrangement calme, comme une anomalie après l'élection chaotique américaine dont on ressent encore les effets aujourd'hui. Et puis, une dernière journée de campagne marquée par ce drame épouvantable à Vancouver qui a frappé la communauté philippine, à qui on envoie nos meilleures pensées. Avec nous, pour décrire d'abord les résultats, Sébastien Bovet, votre carte presque magique va nous donner les réponses tout de suite. Alors, Sébastien, grand pays, vous l'avez dit, on a déjà circonscrit les endroits qu'on surveille. Le chemin de la victoire n'est pas le même si vous êtes libéral ou si vous êtes conservateur. Les libéraux en ont besoin de 20, les conservateurs en ont besoin de 52 de plus pour arriver au seuil de la majorité.
Et donc, cette élection-là va se jouer dans plusieurs provinces, en particulier le Québec et l'Ontario, on y revient dans un instant, mais ça commence, les premiers résultats vont nous arriver des provinces atlantiques. Et c'est un peu l'apéro, on va dire, les provinces atlantiques. 32 circonscriptions en jeu. Les libéraux en ont 23 à la dissolution. Le Parti conservateur en a 8. Si les libéraux veulent connaître une bonne soirée, si les conservateurs peuvent connaître une moins bonne soirée, il y a certaines circonscriptions qui sont en jeu, notamment la circonscription d'Acadie-Annapolis.
Du règlement de ça. On a d'autres résultats à Terre-Neuve.
Voilà, 3 résultats qui sont entrés au cours des dernières minutes. Labrador, ici, c'est une circonscription libérale. Pour l'instant, les libéraux sont en avance. Très préliminaire, 11 voix d'avance seulement. On surveillait particulièrement cette circonscription ici de Terre-Neuve-Centre, circonscription conservatrice. Les conservateurs, pour l'instant, ont une avance de 106 voix. Il y a 2 boîtes de scrutin sur 233 qui ont été dépouillées.
C'est juste dans les Maritimes ou c'est ailleurs au Canada. Mais moi, je me rappelle de toutes les récentes élections fédérales. Puis honnêtement, les Maritimes, ça a toujours été un bon indicateur.
Regardez, je vous montre, je vous donne un chiffre.
Et je suis d'accord avec Alec.
Ça, c'est Terre-Neuve-Labrador. Regardez le pourcentage du vote conservateur. Bien sûr que on n'est pas en train de conclure quoi que ce soit, mais on est en train de dire que si vous êtes Pierre Poilievre, puis vous regardez la carte de Terre-Neuve, vous êtes content de ce que vous voyez à ce moment-ci.
Un peu comme je reviens à 2016, quand Donald Trump a commencé à voir la carte.
Avec attention. Alors, beau séjour, on le disait, ça allait être une formalité pour lui. Dominique Leblanc, c'est quand même pas des blagues, c'est 9e fois qu'il se fait élire. 9e mandat dans beau séjour pour Dominique Leblanc, qui a été joueur d'équipe, qui a, à 1 heure d'avis, est devenu ministre des Finances à un moment donné, alors qu'il y avait Chrystia Freeland qui a démissionné.
Vautour, quand il a fait sa première entrée au Parlement en 2000, si je me souviens bien. Angela Vautour, qui était candidate conservatrice, enfin.
21 élus en tête pour les libéraux, 10 pour les conservateurs. Et le 10, on le répète, on le souligne, c'est 2 de plus que ce qu'ils avaient à leur avoir, Sébastien.
Voilà,
Puis gain possible, libéraux
oui,
au Québec
absolument.
actuellement.
Puis on regardait la grande région de Montréal. Quand on parle de gains libéraux, il y a ici en avance, là, c'est pas des gains parce qu'à 24 points d'avance, 24 votes d'avance, on peut pas parler de gains. Saint-Jean aussi, la circonscription de Shefford juste à côté. Tout ça, c'était bloquiste. C'est bloquiste,
voilà.
Jusqu'à preuve du contraire, mais c'est là que ça se joue un peu. On parlait du Grand Montréal tout à l'heure. Là. C'est là que ça peut se jouer. C'est
l'histoire qui est en train de se faire là actuellement, des gains, timides, parce que c'est pas fini, mais des gains libéraux sur des circonscriptions bloquistes au Québec.
Ouais. Alors, on dit Au Québec.
Rivière, où là, la libérale, la candidate, est toujours en avance.
Voilà, et l'avance de Mme Desrochers se creuse. Évidemment, c'est préliminaire, 14 boîtes de scrutin sur 269. M. Villemur est passé de la 3e position à la 2e. Et regardez, Yves Lévesque. Est-ce que la 3e fois sera la bonne? Pour l'instant, il est 3e dans la circonscription, l'ancien maire de Trois-Rivières qui s'essaie une 3e fois pour les conservateurs.
Ça va être extrêmement difficile, à moins qu'il y ait vraiment une géographie qui nous échappe.
Donc, amenez-en des votes à Toronto, on est prêt à en prendre.
Les petites taches bleues que vous voyez, là...
Premier résultat pour le chef libéral dans NDP, Mark Carney, qui devrait assez facilement se faire élire en banlieue d'Ottawa. Donc, mais quand même, pour le chef, on tenait à vous le montrer.
Et si on devait perdre ça...
À 22h10, Radio-Canada prévoit que le prochain gouvernement sera formé par le Parti libéral. Pour l'instant, nous ne pouvons pas dire s'il sera minoritaire ou majoritaire. Je répète, à 22h10, Radio-Canada prévoit que le prochain gouvernement sera formé par le Parti libéral. Mark Carney passe de premier ministre désigné à premier ministre élu. Vous voyez des images en direct du rassemblement du Parti libéral du Canada à Ottawa. Paris, en tout cas, qui a été... qu'on ne voyait pas venir il y a 3 mois. Et maintenant, Mark Carney a réussi ce qui semblait impossible il y a quelques semaines, c'est-à-dire battre Pierre Poilievre, qui trônait au-dessus des sondages. Donald Trump est venu tout mélanger, les cartes politiques canadiennes. Alors, Louis, qu'il soit minoritaire ou majoritaire, pour l'instant, pour lui, c'est une première étape qu'il va prendre avec joie, là.
Et est-ce qu'on peut rappeler, Patrice, où était le Parti libéral à la fin de l'année 2024? Il était dans le sous-sol. Justin Trudeau était à un bas fond d'impopularité. Il y avait dans son caucus des députés qu'il voulait qu'il quitte. Et là, regardez aujourd'hui, il a fallu qu'il y ait un alignement des planètes. On nous a dit qu'il est arrivé 3 choses. La première, c'est la défaite de Kamala Harris, l'arrivée de Donald Trump. La deuxième, le départ de Justin Trudeau. Et la
concrétiser une avance dans les sondages de façon assez claire. Vous voyez le sommaire à Québec, plus 17 au total. Plus 17. Grand Montréal, donc, ça comprend le Grand Montréal plus 8, Région de Québec 2, ailleurs au Québec 7. Donc, au total, au Québec, élu...
Ce qui est meilleur que Stephen Harper, pas certaine.
C'était une formalité. Mark Carney, élu chef du Parti libéral dans Népine, donc avec une importante marge, bien sûr. Est-ce qu'on a eu des résultats dans la circonscription de M. Poilievre dans Carleton? Il n'y a pas de souci, on va les voir. Alors ça, c'est en 2021. Regardez, c'est assez parlant. Ça, c'était toutes les circonscriptions en Colombie-Britannique du NPD. Et aujourd'hui, poum, regardez ce qu'il reste là. Alors, ça montre bien que et les conservateurs et les libéraux sont allés en chercher 4 pour les conservateurs, 3 pour les libéraux.
Des conservateurs. Écoutez, on voulait gagner tous les comtés, ça va de soi, bien entendu. Et moi,
alors voilà, mesdames et messieurs, Gérard Dettel, pour lui, ça a été une grande victoire.
8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Tout semble être brisé.
M. Trudeau, il est un chef qui est faible, qui a perdu le contrôle.
La légitimité du gouvernement de Justin Trudeau est à zéro, c'est terminé.
J'ai l'intention de démissionner de mon poste de chef du Parti libéral du Canada et de premier ministre une fois que le parti aura choisi son prochain chef.
In first place, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
Canada's been very bad to us on trade, but now Canada's going to have to start paying up. I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Nous ne pouvons pas contrôler le président américain, mais nous pouvons contrôler notre destin.
Il faut que ça change. Il faut un vrai changement pour mettre le Canada d'abord.
Que le Canada choisisse son gouvernement et le Québec pourra choisir sa balance du pouvoir.
Les néo-démocrates sont forts. On est là pour vous.
Il est maintenant 19h30. Je souhaite la bienvenue aux téléspectateurs de TVA qui se joignent à nous. Des résultats qui vont défiler ce soir sur 3 périodes. Comme au hockey, la première période est déjà commencée. D'abord du côté de Terre-Neuve. L'Atlantique, les bureaux de scrutin ferment en ce moment. C'est déjà fermé depuis 19h du côté de Terre-Neuve. On va voir aussi les premiers résultats en bas de l'écran rapidement. Au total, première période, on parle d'un total de 32 circonscriptions en jeu. Et je vous rappelle, dans 1 heure, les bureaux de scrutin ferment en Gaspésie et de la Madeleine et des Stouguches. Et à 21h30, c'est la deuxième période qui commence avec la fermeture des bureaux de vote partout au Québec, en Ontario, de même que dans les prairies. On parle ici de 267 circonscriptions, soit près de 80 des sièges aux communes. Et enfin, à 22h, à notre heure à nous, troisième et dernière période avec les résultats dans l'Ouest canadien, Colombie-Britannique et au Yukon. Je vous rappelle, je suis en compagnie d'Emmanuel, de Mario, de Jean-Marc et de Philippe Vincent. Mais d'abord, si vous le voulez, tout de suite, rejoignons Pierre-Olivier. Les premiers résultats, les résultats entrent du côté de Terre-Neuve, Pierre-Olivier.
Les premiers pays. Et ce qu'on constate, encore une fois, à mesure que le vote est dépouillé...
Quel parcours, quel gain au plan géopolitique doivent-ils accomplir ce soir pour l'emporter?
L'objectif de Mark Carney, c'est de récupérer les votes des tiers partis. Il y a un instant, je vous parlais du vote du NPD qui, dans Terre-Neuve, se rapporte aux conservateurs pour le moment. C'est ce que ne veut pas Mark Carney. Il souhaite aller chercher non seulement le vote du NPD, mais aussi celui du Bloc au Québec. Puis quand on regarde les chiffres de 2021, on le constate, l'objectif de Mark Carney, c'est qu'il y ait pas mal moins de bleus bloquistes sur la couronne nord et la couronne. Sauver les meubles, en quelque sorte. L'objectif des troupes de Jack Meeting, c'est d'abord d'aller chercher au moins 12 députés et sauver le siège du chef dans la grande région de Vancouver. Ensuite, au Québec, c'est de sauver le soldat Boulris, le candidat dans Rosemont, qui est celui qui a résisté d'élection en élection à l'effritement du vote. Vous le voyez, hein, ce petit coin dans Montréal, dans Rosemont, qui a encore la couleur orange, c'est Alexandre Boulris, élu notamment depuis la vague orange de 2011. Plus largement, pour Jack Meeting, l'objectif, puis je rappelle aux gens, on travaille toujours avec les résultats de la dernière élection, c'est d'aller chercher 12 sièges. Pour lui, ça va notamment se jouer dans l'ouest du pays, en Colombie-Britannique. Pourquoi 12? Parce qu'à ce moment-là...
Mario, on voit donc l'horloge à l'écran.
Ouais,
plus que
je regarde, c'est l'horloge. Je regarde juste l'horloge.
Plus que 10 secondes. Parce que c'est significatif, là, ce qui se passe à compter de maintenant. Ça y est. Donc, c'est la fermeture des bureaux de scrutin dans à peu près 80 des circonscriptions là, qui sont en jeu ce soir. C'est quand même pas rien. Donc, la deuxième période du match commence à l'instant. Les gens qui sont déjà dans les bureaux de scrutin qui attendent, normalement, on les laisse...
Oui, on laisse voter.
On
avant
laisse
de commencer à compter.
Et là, c'est le Québec, l'Ontario, les Prairies, territoire du Nord-Ouest aussi, le Nunavut. Donc, pendant ce temps-là, allons voir, tiens, dans Quartier-Ville. Mais...
La candidate, parce que je pense que François-Philippe Champagne veut faire élire sa voisine dans Trois-Rivières.
Vous voyez le portrait très préliminaire, mais le portrait actuel au Québec. 9 candidats du Parti libéral en avance. 9 du Bloc québécois et 2 conservateurs. Pierre-Olivier, qu'est-ce qui se cache derrière ces chiffres-là?
Bon, c'est vrai que François-Philippe Champagne a raison de se réjouir. À l'heure actuelle, il y a la candidate dans Trois-Rivières, libérale, qui est en avance. Dans Berthier-Masquinongé également, les libéraux sont en avance. Je vous le rappelle, ce sont des résultats fragmentaires, mais quand on parle de tendance qu'on essaie de voir se dessiner, effectivement, le vote bloquiste, c'est-à-dire, semble résister à plusieurs endroits. On voit une lutte qui s'annonce peut-être plus serrée que prévu dans Shefford, qui est coloré en bleu bloquiste. Dans Terrebonne, vous voyez les résultats. On est à 5 du vote dépouillé. Bonne avance pour la candidate bloquiste.
Autre élu également au Québec, dans Saint-Maurice-Champlain, François-Philippe Champagne, donc élu dans son comté de Saint-Maurice. Et moins en Ontario. Dans Nipine, donc, Mark Carney, c'est un bureau de scrutin sur 229. Emmanuel, tu habites la région d'Ottawa.
Oui,
donc...
Et ce qu'on voit à l'heure actuelle, c'est du rouge libéral.
Pierre-Olivier, je vous interromps tout de suite parce que à 22h12, TVA Nouvelles est en mesure de vous annoncer que le prochain gouvernement du Canada sera un gouvernement libéral. Donc, je répète, en fonction des résultats déjà compilés et des projections, on est en mesure de vous dire que le prochain gouvernement sera un gouvernement libéral.
Carney va avoir, il faut le dire, là, présidé la plus spectaculaire remontée politique de l'histoire du pays en quelques semaines à peine.
C'est probable que les libéraux, sur la barre, juste sur la barre...
Si la tendance est... Yves-François Blanchet, réélu dans son comté, un deuxième chef réélu, élu dans son cas dans le comté de Nipin à Ottawa, Mark Carney, donc c'est pas une surprise, élu, c'est un comté qui est... Pierre-Olivier, je vous interromps tout de suite parce qu'à 23h53, TVA Nouvelles est en mesure de vous annoncer que le prochain gouvernement sera dirigé par Mark Carney, le Parti libéral, mais il sera minoritaire. Donc, en se basant sur les résultats actuels et sur les projections, TVA Nouvelles prévoit que le prochain gouvernement libéral sera minoritaire. Alors, on voit du côté libéral, on voit que c'est pas le résultat qu'on attendait. Votre impression, Emmanuel?
Une déception majeure, là.
C'est une élection qualifiée d'historique, précipitée par la démission d'un premier ministre qui nous avait pourtant dit vouloir solliciter un 4e mandat.
Puis le pays a été plongé dans une courte campagne hautement influencée par le président américain, mais surtout par ses menaces de tarifs douaniers. Est-ce que les électeurs vont donner raison ce soir aux sondeurs? En tout cas, Marie-Christine, aujourd'hui, les Canadiens ont tranché.
C'est ce soir, Michel, qu'on saura qui obtiendra le mandat, majoritaire ou minoritaire, bien sûr, de diriger notre pays dans une période économiquement incertaine. Les prochaines heures s'annoncent fortes en suspens et peut-être même en rebondissement.
Bienvenue à la soirée électorale fédérale 2025 de Noovo.
Nous bâtissons un Canada fort.
Qui est prêt à mettre le Canada d'abord?
Parlons des intérêts du Québec, parlons français.
Avec du cœur au ventre, on va se battre pour vous.
Ce qu'on propose, c'est pas une utopie, c'est une direction.
La soirée lancée, bienvenue dans notre studio électoral. Il y a de la fébrilité dans l'air. À mes côtés ce soir pour analyser tout ça, commenter, réagir, Alain Reyes, Antonine Iacarini, Yves Boisvert. Bonsoir, vous trois.
Bonsoir.
Alain, je commence avec toi, notre recrue officielle, ancien député conservateur dans Richmond-Arthabasca et puis indépendant.
En sondage, Philippe Giffournier qui est avec moi ce soir. Bonsoir, Philippe.
Bonsoir, Michel.
Je comptais, c'est notre 3e soirée électorale ensemble, la 2e fédérale. Ça va être vraiment intéressant de se promener avec toutes les connaissances que tu as à travers ces circonscriptions-là. J'ai parlé de 343 circonscriptions. Mais d'abord, on va aller voir à quoi ressemblait la Chambre des communes à la dissolution du Parlement au début de cette campagne électorale. Vous allez voir ça apparaître. Alors, 152, ça, c'est le nombre de sièges que détenait le Parti libéral du Canada. 119, c'est le nombre de sièges qui appartenaient aux conservateurs. Le Bloc québécois, donc 33 sièges à la Chambre des communes, 24 pour le NPD, 2 pour le Parti vert. Le 3 au bout, en fait, ce sont les indépendants. Tiens, parmi ces circonscriptions-là, il y a l'ancienne circonscription d'Alain Reyes, Richmond-Arthabasca, donc. Et il y a un chiffre qui n'apparaît pas, c'est 4. Il y a 4 sièges qui sont vacants à la Chambre des communes. Alors, ça ressemble à ça. C'est comme ça que a commencé. En fait, quelques votes qu'on a, comment se répartissent ces votes-là en pourcentage selon les partis. Alors, vous voyez, c'est le Parti conservateur qui mène avec 51 %.
Des résultats qui commencent à arriver.
Oui, quand tu disais, préparez-vous à une déferlante. Là, on se réchauffe tranquillement avec l'Atlantique, mais tantôt, on va être happé par une vague de résultats. Allons voir rapidement, donc, justement, en Atlantique, parce qu'on a des résultats. Les bureaux, je le rappelle, sont fermés depuis 19h à Terre-Neuve-Labrador, 19h30 pour les Maritimes. Et on voit que les conservateurs sont en avance dans 2 circonscriptions.
Exact. Donc, jusqu'à maintenant, Michel, il n'y a pas beaucoup de changements, mais si on regarde sur l'île de Terre-Neuve, il y a Long Range Mountain. Oui. Ça, c'était une circonscription libérale lors de la dissolution. On voit les conservateurs
quand même, là,
en avance.
C'est confortable, plus de 1000 pour le moment, mais il y a 61 bureaux de vote sur...
Défilé à l'écran, ces candidats, donc, en Atlantique. On surveille la circonscription de Beau-Séjour. On voit premier élu, donc, Tom Osborne dans Cape Spears, libéral. libéral, donc c'était le député sortant. On a également à surveiller la circonscription de Beauséjour. Avalon, maintenant.
Qui commence à se dépouiller à travers le pays. On regarde ça tout de suite. Alors, les projections de Noovo, en ce moment, ce que vous pouvez voir, c'est si la tendance se maintient, on peut penser que les libéraux pourraient récolter un minimum de 138 sièges jusqu'à 177. Alors, je vous rappelle le chiffre, hein, c'est 172 pour obtenir une majorité. Un suspense de fin de soirée, ça. Alors voilà, pour la Colombie-Britannique et les néo-démocrates. Allons voir à cette heure-ci, donc, combien de gains ou de pertes ont fait les partis. Vous voyez, alors, on a des résultats essentiellement en Atlantique où les libéraux sont à -3, donc les conservateurs à 2, plus 2. Merci beaucoup, Jean-Simon. On regarde, voici un élu, sans surprise, hein, Louis Plamondon, le doyen de la Chambre des communes, est élu dans Bécancour, Nicolet Sorel. Ça, c'est pas une surprise, hein, on s'y attendait.
Dans la région, on voit ce que François Champagne est capable de faire. Ça nous donne le goût d'aller goûter au pouvoir, nous autres aussi.
À 22h07, Noovo prévoit que le prochain gouvernement sera libéral. Je répète donc à 22h07, Noovo prévoit que le prochain gouvernement sera libéral. Yves.
C'est ce qui était prévu. Ça reste un revirement, si on se recule de quelques mois, extrêmement surprenant. C'est historique. On entre dans une période d'incertitude. Il a réussi, Mark Carney, à montrer une crédibilité, un sens du moment, de l'histoire, en disant la relation que nous avons avec les États-Unis, elle est terminée.
Serré dans Gaspésie-les-Îles, alors là, c'est fait. Oui, alors voilà. Et François Blanchet, qui est présentement réélu. Et, Marie-Christine, vous entendez donc derrière moi les militants, les autres candidats qui, visiblement, sont soulagés, heureux aussi de la réélection de leur chef.
Il y a des sourires, des cris de joie et des déceptions. C'est le cas en Beauce. Maxime Bernier, qui est défait. Alain, un mot là-dessus.
Oui, je pense qu'il va falloir vraiment qu'il se pose des questions sur son avenir. Là, on n'a pas entendu parler pendant la campagne. Il va se représenter dans sa circonscription en Beauce. Et je pense que ça dit ce que ça a à dire. Là. On a déjà trop parlé.
Je pense que s'il était capable de se poser des questions, ça serait peut-être se continuer comme ça.
Mark Carney, élu officiellement donc dans sa circonscription dans Nipim, donc la circonscription voisine de Pierre Poilievre. C'est assez particulier, donc.
Capitale dans le prochain Parlement.
À 22h51, Noovo prévoit que le prochain gouvernement sera bien sûr libéral minoritaire. Alors, je le répète, à 22h51, Noovo prévoit que le gouvernement sera libéral minoritaire. Yves.
Voilà. Alors, donc, justement, d'abord, ça reste un exploit politique compte tenu de ce qu'on voyait au mois de décembre.
Oui.
Monsieur Poilievre sauve les meubles. Et donc, ça fait en sorte, comme on vient de le dire, que le Bloc québécois va permettre de faire passer ou pas.
D'avoir été avec nous. Je vous laisse aller écrire vos textes et finir votre travail. Merci beaucoup à vous trois. Bonne soirée. Merci. Je me tourne maintenant vers Michel dans le studio des débatteurs parce que je le disais, la soirée n'est pas terminée.
On a changé un peu de décor parce qu'en effet, c'est loin d'être terminé. On est en attente des différents discours, Marie-Christine. Ceux de Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre et François Blanchet, également Jock Meeting, qui est en Colombie-Britannique. Alors d'ailleurs, ça devrait se faire au cours des prochaines minutes. Nos débatteurs qui vont avoir beaucoup à dire là-dessus, ça c'est certain.
Merci beaucoup, Michel. Bonne soirée.
Excellente nuit, Marie-Christine.
Bye-bye.
Alors, avec Victor Henriquez, Jacinthe Varel, Déborah Cherenfant et François Lambert, c'est parti pour l'après-match de cette 45e élection fédérale. Bonsoir à vous quatre. Je sais que vous deviez... bonjour, on change... on a changé de jour. Mon Dieu. J'imagine que vous tapiez du pied, étiez prêt à se plonger dans l'arène pour aller commenter cette soirée électorale. Hein, j'ai pas de doute là-dessus. Petit tour de table rapidement. Est-ce qu'il y a des choses qui vous surprennent dans ces résultats qu'on a ce soir?
C'est encore très... Voters will decide Who will lead Canada? From the CHCH studios, covering Hamilton, Halton, Brant, and Niagara, this is your home, your vote.
Good evening. Welcome to Your Home, Your Vote, a special live broadcast this evening following the results of what may be one of the most significant federal elections of our time. And the story is already unfolding, with polls reporting on the East Coast and the seats populating at the bottom of your screen. Now, keep in mind the count at the bottom includes leading and elected seats, so don't be surprised if you see the numbers jump around a little bit as the night goes on. Now, with just 90 minutes to go until the polls close here in Ontario, our reporters are standing by in key locations where races could be tight. Emphasize enough how Donald Trump's 51st state talk and trade war has changed the nature of this campaign and election. The stakes much higher and much different than before Trump took office. All right, to begin our coverage tonight, let's head on over to the CHCH touchscreen results board, where Emily Taylor is focusing on key ridings for us. Emily.
Good evening, Matt. We're taking a look at the bigger picture of Canada right now. Well, we are waiting for the polls to close here in Ontario. That's going to be happening at 9:30. So we're going to take a closer look at some of our Atlantic ridings. First, I specifically want to go to a spot in New Brunswick. Now, this is the riding of Beausejour. And this is going to be Dominic LeBlanc's riding. So it's Liberal Cabinet Minister Dominic LeBlanc. He's seeking re-election for the 9th straight term. Now, you might remember he was part of that initial trip down to Mar-a-Lago with Justin Trudeau back in the fall when we first started hearing about this 51st state topic. At the time of dissolution, he was the Minister of International Trade and Intergovernmental Affairs in Mark Carney's cabinet. Tonight, we have it's a lead so far, but we have just one poll reporting of the 221 polls. So far, he is in the lead, 494 votes at 65 point reporters, and I'll be following all the results. But first, let's take a look at the riding, which has changed this time around. So residents in the city will either be voting here in Oakville East or Oakville West, with 16 Mile Creek now as the divider between both. Before I get to the candidates, let's talk about some of the issues that are top of mind for those living here.
Welcome back. The boundary changes that have occurred in some areas is because more seats are being added to the House of Commons. At dissolution, there were 338 seats, with the Liberals at 152, the Tories at 120, the Bloc 33, NDP 24, Green 2, 3 independents, and 4 vacant seats. Liberals held a minority government under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. But after tonight, there will be 343 seats, which means the magic number for a majority government is now 172 seats. So with that in mind and the results already starting to come in, let's go back to the panel again and get Kelly Botello and the gang's thoughts. Kelly, I see you have some new people with you.
Yes, we do. We now have Elizabeth McCallion and Stefan Dolgert here joining us on our panel. Thanks for being with us.
Ontario. Let's pull this map up, guys, and take a look at things so far. 52 seats. Oh, sorry. See, live TV just changed to 53 seats that the Liberals have either been elected in or are leaning Liberal. 35 for the Conservatives, 0 for the NDP. But like we've been talking about, that could end up being Hamilton Centre.
Tight race right now. Baldinelli is a little bit in the lead, but again, really too close to tell at this point. Now, Baldinelli has not showed up here at his event yet, but I did have a chance to talk to some of his supporters who are here. There's not many of them right now, but some of the things that they brought up that they are concerned about and they want to see addressed at the federal level.
I want to break in right now because our CHCH newsroom is telling me that we are prepared to call a Liberal government, not predicting whether it will be a majority or a minority, but we are calling a Liberal government under Mark Carney winning this federal election. Keith, let's bring you back in and get your reaction. What do you think of this call? Are you surprised that it looks like the Liberals are going to hold on to power?
No, it's kind of when we were discussing it at the 6 o'clock news tonight, I sort of thought it might be a Liberal minority government.
And elected ridings by party color. Now, as you can see, Northern Ontario has several blue and yellow ridings on that map there. Let's take a look at the Toronto region. Oh, there we go. There's the Northern Ontario. Oh, here we go. Toronto. All Liberal across so far. One blue dot just north of the GTA there. University Rosedale, of course, a very important riding. That is the riding of Chrystia Freeland, who has held on to that. Liz Grade with the Conservatives is trying to take it from her. The anticipation is palpable. There it goes. All right, Liberal, 42.7% of the vote so far, to the Tory, 41.7%. Just 1 percentage point between the two parties. The Bloc Quebecois earning just over 8% of the vote. The NDP, got to be a disappointing night for them, just over 5%. The Green Party, 1%, and the catch-all other, 1.2%. All right, let's bring back in Emily Taylor, who's going to go through some more results for us this evening. Wow, 1% difference in the popular vote, Emily. This is quite a tight night.
This really is, and I think many people hadn't predicted the Conservatives to be sweeping quite as much as they are, especially in Hamilton. I do actually want to start over in Ottawa again. This is Carleton riding, so Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre currently still in second place. We do only have now 10, so we previously had, I think, around 5 last time we checked.
Good evening. Hello. Happy Election Day. We'd like to welcome you to our special coverage of the 2025 federal election.
We got that election feeling going. It's exciting. Right. 343 seats up for grabs right across the country. 172 seats needed to form a majority. 7 of those seats right here on Vancouver Island. And if the polls are correct, and they sometimes are, this is going to be a very tight race.
Without further ado, let's take a look at the full map of Vancouver Island. 6 ridings went orange for the NDP in 2021. 1 seat was green, of course, co-leader for the Green Party, Elizabeth May.
Yeah, top to bottom, here's your island riding, starting on North Island, then Courtenay Alberni, Nanaimo Ladysmith, Cowichan Malahat Langford, Esquimalt Saanich Sooke, Victoria, and of course Saanich Gulf Islands. Take all the color off those maps. They are now all up for grabs.
And won't we have a good time tonight finding out which color they will become. We have teams all across Vancouver Island tonight, and we will have, of course, the very last-minute results for you as they come in for every race.
Well, Stacey, Paul, just reintroduce the panel here, and then we'll get into some of the kind of early ridings that we are going to be looking at, because you're going to get flooded, as Scott mentioned. You know, in 25 minutes, you've got the Ontario and the Quebec results coming in, and then after the polls close at 7 o'clock in BC, you're going to get a whole bunch of different ridings. So we're going to talk a bit about the ones you might want to watch as kind of bellwethers for what might be happening tonight. But I want to reintroduce the panel here. We have Aisha Etsy, the BC Conservative Party president. Thank you for being here tonight.
Well, you can see from the numbers there on the bottom of the screen that Liberal lead is expanding. Not to say the Conservatives still strong, still in healthy numbers, and it's still incredibly early. But let's take a look at some of the big numbers out there. This is the national popular vote right now. Again, we just had our polls close out here out west, but you're starting to see that is significant right now at 50%. That's not a small number for the Liberals, and you're seeing the NDP dropping significantly, and that is playing a story here, and so is the Bloc. And you'll see in the seat change that we're about to show you what is actually happening in terms of the additions that the parties are making. This huge jump here for a seat change for the Liberals at plus 17 is fully coming at the expense of the Bloc.
But then he just kept going and going and going, like right through the campaign, and just not slowing down. And so, but I'm still one of the opinion it's the same team, it's the same cabinet ministers.
The Conservatives would have to win every remaining seat. We did the math a few minutes ago, so it may have changed. They'd have to win, if these numbers on the screen hold, they would have to win every single remaining seat to form a majority government. As you said, it's a collapse of the NDP.
So it just goes to show the polls in Canada are quite accurate. Listen to them. If they're telling you that you are missing the mark on the ballot question, then you likely are, and it's time to start addressing that more aggressively. And
yeah, I was at David Anderson's office in 2006. He seems much happier today than he was on last night.
Very well said. Okay, so as of right now, CBC saying it is going to be a Liberal win, majority, minority, we don't know. What I do know is I'm going to turn things back over to Mr. Rob Shaw, hanging out at Oh Boy Studios in Vancouver. And are we surprised these results are coming in this quickly?
So it was important that we were on screen with each other.
You're expecting a big crowd tonight, and you said you didn't want it to be a boring event.
No, I'm not all about the boring events.
Politics can be boring, as you know, and we were saying before we went on that it's been anything but boring during this campaign up here in the North Island, Powell River. Aaron Gunn is a controversial figure and a controversial candidate here. You know that. He would admit to that. What do you think about that, and just how the campaign?
A testament to what's happening tonight.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Alistair there. You work very closely, of course, up in that Cowichan riding. And how is it getting out, banging on the doors, and convincing voters, saying, hey, look, we might not form government, but I am going to be your voice in Ottawa, and I will represent you. And does that resonate with the voters?
I think especially if you're getting to the door yourself, and especially if you can point to your record and the ways in which you've done that, that is where the local candidates can have a real impact. And I think we'll see evidence of that tonight. Gord Johns is another example.
Yes. Well, Saanich, perhaps not, and perhaps that's hurting her here this time around. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's go to Saanich Gulf Islands, and that one we've been talking about. This looks like a pretty big jump for Elizabeth May, Sonia, I'll let you take it away here.
Yeah, so 100 of 265 polls, she's at 44%, quite a big lead over the Conservative in the second place, and quite tight between the Conservatives and Liberals, but
and there we have actually Elizabeth May is speaking right now.
Let's go to Church and State Winery and check in.
Let's jump in.
Liberal fortunes, and that he will be forming the next government. Whether it's a minority or a majority remains to be seen. I congratulated him fully.
Who is ready to stand up for Canada? Who's ready to stand up? I need you to vote. Canada first. Let's bring it home.
Le Bloc québécois est un instrument fondamental pour l'accession du Québec à la souveraineté. C'est notre job.
We win by standing up, by standing together to protect what makes Canada, Canada.
And we must choose between our future and our present.
But this is a really critical moment for Canadian democracy.
It is just past 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 8:30 in Newfoundland, where the polls have just closed. You're watching Vote 2025 on CPAC. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Serapio. Thank you for joining us this evening on the Cable Public Affairs channel as we bring you special coverage tonight of Canada's 45th general election. Now, this is the night when we will discover how Canadians have voted after a 36-day campaign, and we'll be following the results as we go region to region, coast to coast to coast. And, of course, we'll bring you the latest numbers with each poll closing. And to that, take a look right now at the bottom of your screen. You'll see there an election ticker, and that is where we will get the latest numbers for you as this night goes on. But just be aware, the numbers that you're looking at right now, well, they are an aggregation. Basically, we are putting together both leading and elected numbers. So don't be surprised as those numbers shift. Perhaps they will flip depending on what region of the country that we're in. But rest assured, those numbers will be updated throughout this evening. And as we approach the end of this evening, of course, those numbers will firm up and we'll have a better idea of where things stand with all the political parties. Now, that said, I'm joined by two very important people this evening. That I also want to introduce the panel that is joining Catherine and I here on set, because we are not alone this evening. As you can take a look at the wide shot, we have right beside me to my right is Laurie Turnbull, is the political scientist at Dalhousie University. Geneviève Tellier is a political scientist with the University of Ottawa. Robert Fife, the Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Globe and Mail. And Chris Hall, who is sitting beside Catherine, is the managing principal at Navigator. Hello to all of you.
Hey, Michael.
Bonjour. So, Laurie, I'm going to get you to start us out here because polls closed about 25 minutes ago. Eric, walk us through quickly what you're seeing so far on the board.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing very early results, so very likely some small polling boxes because we're not seeing lots of numbers in them. But you can take a look at Avalon. We got some results there. Just one polling box is closed. Paul Connors is ahead by 25 votes over Steve Kent. Steve Kent, a former PC MHA, is running for the Conservatives in this election. Look at Terranova in the Peninsulas. This is a riding that the Liberals won last time. So right now, Jonathan Rowe of the Conservatives is ahead by 6 votes. But
election, if we can pull that up, as to where the party stood in terms of popular vote. this is current, not, so this is how it's breaking down right now. A popular vote in Newfoundland Labrador, you see there the NDP. Although, you know, Eric, because you're still there, St. John's East, that was Jack Harris's riding, if I recall correctly. And he was, because again, we aggregate the numbers at the bottom of your screen. 22 Liberals, 10 for the Conservatives. But when you break that down to elected and leading, you see there the Liberals elected in 19, leading in 3, Conservatives elected in 6, but currently leading in 4, which gives us the number 10. So really, that the leading column is what we're going to be watching out for now.
Aren't going to win that, I don't think, but right now they are leading. Who knows? We'll have to keep an eye on it. How about Beauce? Jason Trudeau is the Conservative candidate there. He's got a huge lead right now over the Liberal. Look who's in fourth. Maxime Bernier, 5% of the vote so far. 7 poll boxes counted, but it doesn't look like he's going to return as an MP, which he hasn't been since he lost in 2019. We can keep looking around the Montreal area, which is going to be a really important battleground. Take a look here at Brossard-Saint-Lambert. 42 vote tie. So there's still lots of close ridings to watch. Across the province and across the country.
Okay, still lots of close ridings, and I'm sorry to jump in, Eric, but I do have a declaration to make there. CPAC relies on the Canadian press numbers to make declarations. Take a look at what we're hearing from the Canadian press right now. They are at this moment in time declaring a Liberal government. Now, whether that is a minority or majority, that is still to be seen. But at this point, at 10:14 p.m. Eastern Time, Canadian press is declaring a Liberal government. Let's go right now to Andrew Thompson. He is at Liberal headquarters in Ottawa at Lansdowne Park. Andrew, hello to you. What's been the reaction there on the floor? Canadian press, which is our declaration team, they have declared a Liberal government, but we're also keeping an eye on where the leaders are running right now. We have 2 riding results to share with you, beginning with the riding of Carleton. This is in the capital region, just around Ottawa. You see there Pierre Poilievre. He has held this riding since 2004. Right now, with just 1 poll reporting, and this could be the result of some advanced polls, Bruce Fanjoy right now is leading with that 1 poll, so we'll be watching that very closely. And from Carleton, the neighboring riding is actually Nepean, and that is where Mark Carney, the Liberal leader, is running. And right now, with 30 polls of 229 reporting, he is clearly with a comfortable lead there. So watching.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to Decision 2025.
And I'm Chris Nachkite. After a 36-day campaign, the shortest time frame a campaign can go, election night for this 45th federal election is here. Over the next 3 hours, we will bring you the results from the 343 federal ridings, and we will also be checking in with our reporters live from some of those key ridings.
We have our reporters out in the field from coast to coast, including at the headquarters of Liberal leader Mark Carney, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Also, on the left side of your screen, you will see the seats that each party is leading or elected in, and the ticker box on the bottom will show the election results of about 70 ridings and how many votes have been counted in real time, including the party leaders, the 36 ridings identified by the Assembly of First Nations, and a number of other ridings where Indigenous people are on the ballot.
They're worried, right? And I think that across the country, that's translated into really broad Liberal support, because that's really a representation of the status quo. And, you know, for the NDP, it's been an uphill battle the entire campaign.
We don't know yet whether it's going to be a majority or a minority government. If it is a minority government, we could be doing this again in fairly short order.
Well, absolutely. Like it's a dogfight for Leah Kazan that she's in probably the fight of her life. I mean, according to my tracking, is that she's still got a pretty significant 4-point lead within the riding, which at this point of the night suggests that it will be tight, but I think certainly she will be able to probably eke this out because we're at the point of the night in which the advanced.
And we asked, how do you want to see the next federal government approach Indigenous issues? Canadian 1959 said, We want clean and potable water on every reserve yesterday. I don't care how much it costs. I want Indigenous and Inuit educators and elders teaching the history of this country from an Indigenous perspective in every school in this country on the federal ticket.
Really strong two-party race here between the Conservatives and the Liberal government, and the excitement is growing strong here.
Redistribution change to this riding.
Good evening, Canada, and welcome to our live coast-to-coast coverage for the 2025 federal election. I'm Teresa Skupik, and tonight, the nation speaks. After months of promises, debates, headlines, and handshakes, Canadians from Nunavut to Newfoundland, Peggy's Cove to Prince George are going to cast their ballots in one of the most closely watched and fiercely contested federal elections in recent history. Will the Liberals hold to power? Can the Conservatives reclaim the Prime Minister's office? Will the New Democrats, the Bloc, or the Greens shake up the status quo? Or will we wake up to a parliament more divided than ever? It's election night in Canada, and the News Forum will be with you every step of the way. Now, before we begin, our thoughts are with Vancouver and the community affected by the deadly van attack that slammed into a crowd Saturday evening, taking the lives of 11 people and injuring more than 20. Now to our election coverage.
Polls in Atlantic Canada closed at 7:30, as we talked about last time, to really zone in on what people are seeing here on the bottom of their screens. This is the ridings in which each of the individual parties are either leading or elected, and kind of important to make that distinction. Out of these numbers, 5 of the 16 for the Liberals are ridings in which they are elected. 1 out of the 9 are ridings in which the Conservatives are elected. Scenario this time.
And when we did our last update, it was too soon to see what was going on in Ontario, but what are we seeing now?
Yeah, a lot of kind of interesting results. So, I mean, if I look here specifically, I mean, if I go to like a riding like Ajax, for example, that's where you have Jennifer McKelvey, who is the Liberal candidate, who is actually a former Toronto City Councillor. She is the Liberal candidate there. She's considered one of their kind of star candidates. But the Conservatives have a star candidate too, in Greg Brady, the former radio host on AM 640, who I
touched on the fact that you wanted to talk about the NDP and what they've accomplished or lack of accomplished tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly very interesting. If you look to the riding of, here, I'll pull it up for our viewers, the riding of Rosemont-le-Petit-Patrie in Quebec. That is...
你希望有點樣新一屆嘅聯邦政府呢？你好，歡迎收睇2025年第45屆聯邦大選 OMNI 電視台嘅特備節目。我係 OMNI 粵語新聞李立本。喺呢個鐘頭嘅冇廣告節目入邊呢，我哋將會聯同 OMNI 新聞國語主播李維、BC 省 OMNI 粵語新聞主播蘇嘉欣呢，以及東西兩岸嘅同事，即時為大家更新點票結果㗎。
对，那么观众朋友大家好，我是 OMNI 国语新闻主播李维哈。那么今天晚上呢，我们会及时为大家更新各主要政党、全国各超级战区，还有大家所关注的华裔候选人的得票情况啊。那么现在呢，我们就请记者林嘉璇先为大家更新部分有华裔参选选区的最新开票情况。Grace。
好的，主播，那我们马上带大家来看的就是目前开票的最新情况。我们在画面中看到的是这一次安省最多华人登记参选的選區，也就是 Richmond Hill South。那我們現在畫面中關注的華裔候選人是來自保守黨的 Vincent Ho。
果係點呢？咁再次交俾國語記者林佳璇咧，同我哋 update 下㗎。唔該晒 Grace。
好的，主播，我们马上带大家来看到目前华人重点选区的开票状况哦。首先，我们带来看到的是画面中 Willowdale 这个选区呢，目前您可以看到的是来自移民2代的 James。很多人对于这个话题也希望可以深入的去探讨。那我们马上就来把现场交还给主播。
现在这次的这个选举的目前的结果上面哈，您觉得保守党到底出了什么问题？
我觉得还是一个就是特朗普的因素了，因为这个自由党的选民呢，他们就是比较担心这个特朗普。
那么东岸这个华裔候选人呢，选情其实非常紧绷，那西岸呢也不遑多让啊。现在我们就连线温哥华，就请苏嘉欣呢跟大家一起关注西岸的最新选情。Karen。
咁 BC 省嘅票站咧，啱喺7點鐘先關閉啫，係全國最遲開始點票嘅地區嚟嘅。咁好多選區嘅點票咧，仍然喺進行當中嘅。我哋而家睇加拿大選舉局嘅票，我而家暫時將時間咧交翻俾阿 Grace 同我哋講下最新嘅開票情況係點樣。
那主播，我们现在要持续把焦点停在 BC 省的部分哦。首先，我们要帮大家盘点的是本地的重点华人选区。首先要看到的是新民主党党领早冕成他所在的选区 Burnaby Central 本拿比中选区。那
Nakatutok po kayo sa election coverage ng OMNI News Filipino. Ako po si Rhea Santos. Inaantabayanan po natin kung sino ba ang pinili ng mga Canadians na maging susunod na Prime Minister. Projected to win na po ng OMNI News ang Partido ng Liberals. Base po sa mga pumapasok na bilang na inyo pong nakikita sa inyong TV screen, 157 seats na po, nabago agad. 156 seats na po sa House of Commons ang nakuha ng Liberals, 144 naman ng Conservatives, 24 ang Bloc Quebecois, 11 ang NDP at isang pwesto ang nakuha sa House of Commons ng Greens. Nakatutok po tayo ngayon sa headquarters ng
大選直擊。
各位觀眾、聽眾晚安，我係新時代電視嘅羅佩珊 Annie。
大家好，我係加拿大中文電台嘅陳心田 Wallace。歡迎大家收聽同埋收睇今次兩台首次合辦嘅2025聯邦大選直擊嘅。
唔係啊，咁而呢一部分嘅節目咧，將會由新時代電視同加拿大中文電台同步直播。而喺跟住落嚟嘅1個小時，我同埋 Wallace 兩位主持咧，就會為大家帶嚟最新嘅聯邦大選結果㗎。
嗱，咁今日咧就係呢個嘅大選投票日啦。我相信好多嘅觀眾同埋聽眾咧，都已經喺較早之前咧係投咗票㗎啦。咁今次加拿大嘅大選咧，就喺我哋加西時間7點鐘咧係截止嘅。咁而家咧其實咧喺嗰個嘅選舉結果嗰度咧都開始有啲眉目㗎咯喎。
冇錯，其實都見到數字不停咁變動，唔該晒你啊 Wallace。咁不如我再帶大家去睇下一啲新嘅數據啦，唔同嘅選區。咁我想同大家咧先睇下黨領啦，佢哋喺所屬嘅選區，其實個點票情況係點嘅咧？咁我哋睇下先，見到咧 Mark Carney 自由黨嘅 Mark Carney 咧就已經咧宣布喺佢嘅選區度當選啦。咁 Pierre Poilievre 博勵治咧亦都喺佢嘅 Carleton 嘅選區咧，暫時未知道個選票結果係點樣啦。咁跟住咧，不如我哋睇下其他黨領啦。咁就見到綠黨嘅共同黨領佩德諾咧，咁佢就喺佢嘅選區，佢嘅點票結果仲未知。咁但係我哋知道咧，其中一個共同黨領 Elizabeth May 咧，美爾咧，佢已經喺佢嘅溫哥華島嘅選區暫時係領先嘅。咁亦都見到咧，夫人政團嘅布蘭切特咧喺佢大滿地可東南部嘅一個選區咧係宣布當選。咁另外 Martin Bernier 咧嗰度我哋未知道個情況係點樣。跟住落嚟咧，不如我哋先睇下大溫地區嘅啲選區啦。咁我哋見到咧代表聯邦新民主黨嘅 Jenny Kwan 關惠貞啦，咁其實2015年起咧就已經喺嗰個選區做國會議員嘅，咁暫時咧係領先嘅。我哋睇下下一個選區先。咁見到咧列治文中 Marple 馬堡選區咧就見到好多年經驗做列治文市議員嘅歐澤光卓歐咧，暫時咧喺嗰度領先嘅。跟住落嚟，我哋睇下其他嘅選區先。咁見到同樣都喺列治文嘅選區啦，列治文東 Stephen 選區咧見到尋求連任嘅 Prime Minister 咧代表自由黨嘅 Prime Minister 暫時係領參與今次嘅大選一定係有不滿呢？你嘅睇法 ，Galen？
我諗兩個相輔相成嘅，始終就係第一，我哋點解今次好似個投票率應該好大機會比往屆高咧？其實一個大原因就係而家
中馬堡區尋求連任嘅苗宗顏應該都有傾過下嚇。咁我哋同阿梁俊榮傾下先。梁俊榮你好啊，係。
候選人廟中眼嘅一個競選總部嘅現場啦。咁佢哋今日咧就 book 咗一個酒店嘅一個宴會廳，咁啊同佢哋嘅選舉義工啊，同埋其他嘅唔同嘅傳媒朋友，佢一齊睇住呢個選區同埋其他聯邦大選嘅一個情況啦。咁亦都見到而家人數大概有20至30人喺度啦。咁就都係有唔同嘅傳媒朋友同埋
聽眾咧，都係觀眾咧，都係即係參與我哋呢個民意調查嘅。咁咧，事實上咧，呢個民意調查咧，就我哋睇到咧，就有幾個好主要嘅問題啦。咁其中一個咧就係話大家覺得邊一個係最理想嘅總理人選呢？咁樣咁根據個調查結果咧，有53.9% 咧係選擇咗保守黨嘅博勵治，42.2% 咧係選擇自由黨嘅卡尼。咁就至於新民主黨嘅組面成咧就係得0.7%，綠黨嘅黨領咧就係0.3% 咁樣嘅。咁另一個咧亦都係即係非常之重要嘅問題啦，就係關於政黨啊。咁喺我哋呢個嘅民調當中咧，就有58.4% 係支持保守黨，32.3% 咧就係支持自由黨，7.5% 係支持新民主黨，0.3% 係支持呢個嘅綠黨嘅。咁最後咧，亦都有一條嘅問題就係講到話大家關心嘅議題啦，咁樣。
議員咁首次代表保守黨挑戰聯邦政壇嘅歐澤光傾過喎，咁嗰邊嘅情況而家係點啊 Janice？
係啊，羅佩珊嗱，而家咧我就身處列治文孖蒲區嘅一間華人餐館啦，係其中一名聯邦保守黨候選人歐澤光團隊身處嘅地點。嗱，呢一間嘅餐館咧係當地華人社區耳熟能詳。